So, if I asked you to find the most significant collection of Western art in the southeastern United States, a state-of-the-art planetarium, and like the actual DeLorean from Back to the Future,
right,
you would probably, chart a road trip across 3 major, totally distinct American cities.
Oh, absolutely.
Right. But what if I told you that all of those things are hiding at the exact same highway exit, just a little over an hour north of midtown Atlanta?
I mean, it completely upends that classic traveler's assumption, doesn't it?
It really does.
Because we are so conditioned to believe that world-class culture, deep history, premium museum curation, that those things are the exclusive domain of massive metropolises.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, we tend to think that if something were truly spectacular, it wouldn't just be hiding in plain sight just off some busy interstate.
Which is exactly the misconception we are dismantling today. So, welcome to the Deep Dive.
Glad to be here.
We have a very specific mission for you today, which is proving that taking the road less traveled can actually yield massive cultural rewards.
Oh, for sure.
And that you absolutely do not need a major city skyline to find a world-class cultural oasis.
Right.
Our guide through this today is a really fascinating travel dispatch from June 28th, 2025. It's written by a traveler named Louis over at the Red Solo Traveler blog, and the piece is titled Cruising into the Savoy Automobile Museum.
Yeah, and Louis makes a highly compelling case for the deliberate detour.
He really does.
His whole travel philosophy involves, renting a car and purposely setting aside time for a scenic drive away from the predictable crowds.
Which is so refreshing.
It is. And in this particular dispatch, he's staying in Atlanta, but he just decides to drive north, jumping off Interstate 75 into the North Georgia mountains.
Right into a town called Cartersville. Okay, let's unpack this. Because what Louis finds in Cartersville doesn't just challenge our expectations of, a quiet southern town.
No, not at all.
It fundamentally rewrites the rules of what a day trip can actually be. I mean, every great road trip detour needs an initial hook, right?
You need a reason to turn the wheel.
Exactly. You need that one specific destination that physically gets you off the highway. For our author, that hook was the Savoy Automobile Museum.
Right.
But reading through his account, it becomes immediately clear that we are not talking about some dusty, dimly lit garage with a few vintage cars parked on cracked concrete.
Oh, far from it. I mean, the sheer scale of the Savoy is the first mechanism of surprise here.
Yeah.
It's located at 3 Savoy Lane, and it occupies this sprawling 37-acre campus.
37 acres.
Right. Just conceptualize that physical footprint for a second. 37 acres nestled in a picturesque valley, entirely surrounded by the North Georgia mountains.
Sounds gorgeous.
It is. And Louis specifically highlights the experience of stepping out of his rental car and being immediately struck by the environmental beauty before he even walks through the front doors.
And he mentions the parking.
Yes.
Which I know sounds like such a mundane detail to focus on, but as anyone who travels knows, it is actually a massive luxury.
Oh, it's a total game changer.
Right. You aren't circling some cramped, expensive underground garage in a major city, anxiously looking for a spot while people honk at you.
Exactly.
You are arriving at an expansive estate. It completely changes your psychological state before you even view the exhibits.
That is a crucial point regarding the friction of travel.
Yeah.
By removing that urban stress, the museum allows you to enter a much more receptive cognitive space.
Yeah.
And once you're inside, the level of preservation is just staggering.
It really is.
The facility maintains 5 distinct galleries. But here's the brilliant structural choice they made. 4 of those are temporary, rotating galleries focused on very specific themes.
Which effectively makes it a living, breathing space.
Yes.
It isn't just a static collection that you see once and then, check off your bucket list. You could theoretically visit multiple times a year and have a completely different visual and educational experience every single time.
Absolutely.
And the cars themselves, Louis describes them as magnificent, meticulously cared for, and in absolute pristine mint condition.
What's fascinating here is the museum's deliberate curation strategy.
Okay, yeah.
Because automobile museums frequently fall into a very specific exclusionary trap.
Right, they cater to the experts.
Exactly. They cater almost entirely to die-hard gearheads. They focus the exhibit text on, engine displacement, torque specifications, and highly esoteric mechanical trivia.
Which alienates everyone else.
Right. But the Savoy takes a decidedly different, much more accessible approach. They actually treat the automobile as a critical artifact of human history.
I really want to lean into that, actually, because Louis makes an analogy in his piece that I found incredibly insightful.
Oh, the fashion one.
Yes. He compares walking through these pristine galleries to exploring a vintage fashion archive.
It's so smart.
Because, think about it, cars are the ultimate public expression of individual freedom, but they are also a rolling reflection of whatever was fashionable at the exact time they were built.
That is a very apt way to look at it, honestly.
Yeah.
If you examine a vehicle from the late 1950s, for example, you are seeing massive tail fins and all this chrome detailing.
Flashy stuff.
Right. And that directly mirrored society's burgeoning obsession with aerospace and the impending space race. The car wasn't just transportation,
Right.
It was literally a steel manifestation of cultural optimism.
Exactly the point. Like, when you look at the features your own car has right now versus what your grandparents drove, you are seeing a timeline of what society considered cool or necessary or luxurious at a very specific historical marker.
Yep.
It is basically a time machine.
And the museum facilitates that time travel flawlessly for the casual visitor.
Right.
Beneath each of these pristine vehicles, the Savoy provides highly informative displays. But instead of just, listing the technical specs of a carburetor.
Right, which most people don't care about.
Exactly. These displays detail the vehicle's history, its context, and its impact in a way that is immediately approachable. You do not need a background in automotive engineering to understand how a specific car changed the cultural landscape. It effectively bridges the gap between the specialized car lover and the general history buff.
Speaking of changing the cultural landscape, we have to talk about the star attraction Louis highlights.
Well, we have to.
Because if you want to talk about vehicles that completely define a cultural moment, you cannot get much bigger than this. Sitting right there on display is the actual DeLorean from the legendary film franchise Back to the Future.
I mean, it is the absolute quintessential pop culture vehicle.
Right. And Louis notes that as an avid fan of those films, seeing the DeLorean in person struck a profound emotional chord for him.
Of course.
It wasn't just about looking at a neat movie prop. It proves that cars can transcend their utility,
Definitely.
They become emotional touchstones. They're literal characters in the collective stories we tell ourselves.
It really anchors the exhibit in shared nostalgia. But, this is where the narrative of Louis' travel dispatch pivots. It goes from being about a great museum to being about a phenomenal town.
Yeah.
Because a 37-acre world-class automobile facility featuring the DeLorean would entirely justify a day trip on its own merit.
Absolutely.
The vast majority of small towns would be perfectly content to hang their economic and tourism hats on that single massive attraction.
Sure.
Cartersville, however, does not stop there.
Here's where it gets really interesting, because the town deliberately leans into this self-promoted identity as the museum city.
Right.
Now, I have to push back on this a little bit, or at least play devil's advocate for a second.
Okay.
If I told you to go find the premier museum dedicated exclusively to the spirit of the American West, your brain naturally goes to Texas.
Yep. Texas, maybe Colorado or Wyoming.
Exactly. You expect the geography to match the subject matter. You do not naturally drop a pin on a map in the mountains of North Georgia.
It feels entirely counterintuitive, doesn't it?
Completely.
You expect regional museums to reflect only regional history.
Exactly. It feels a bit random. And yet, if you drive over to 501 North Museum Drive in Cartersville, you are going to find the Booth Western Art Museum.
Which is, geographically speaking, an absolute anomaly.
Yeah.
But it functions as a brilliant piece of cultural gravity. The Booth Western Art Museum is the only art museum of its kind in the entire southeastern United States.
The only one. That's wild.
Right. We are talking about an expansive, sweeping collection of paintings, sculptures, and historical artifacts that comprehensively capture the essence of the American West.
Wow.
And by placing it in Georgia, they subvert your expectations. They create an environment where visitors can completely immerse themselves in a different geographic and cultural reality without ever having to cross the Mississippi River.
It forces you to visit because you literally cannot get this specific cultural experience anywhere else in the region.
Exactly.
But again, the town isn't done.
Not even close.
Let's say you are traveling with your family. Maybe Western art isn't quite capturing the kids' attention, or maybe you just want to dramatically shift gears from historical art to hard science.
Sure.
You literally just head over to 100 Tellus Drive, and you are standing in front of the Tellus Science Museum.
And the Tellus operates with the exact same level of towering ambition as the Savoy or the Booth.
Right.
It doesn't settle for being a modest local science center. It covers an incredible spectrum of scientific knowledge, ranging from deep Earth geology all the way out to space exploration.
Which is so cool.
It's packed with interactive displays and highly educational programs, and crucially, it boasts its own planetarium and a fully functioning observatory.
An observatory hiding in a small town off Interstate 75.
I know.
That genuinely challenges my entire concept of what small-town infrastructure can actually support.
It's incredibly rare.
And then, to finally ground all of this expansive knowledge back into the actual local soil you were standing on, they have the Bartow County History Museum at 4 East Church Street.
Right.
This institution traces the region's rich heritage from the era of the Cherokee tribe all the way forward. It utilizes artifacts, historical photographs, and engaging displays to tell the granular stories of the residents and the pivotal events that physically shaped the community.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, what Cartersville has accomplished is a masterclass in urban planning and cultural tourism.
Oh, absolutely.
Think about the mechanism at work here. By densely concentrating these vastly diverse institutions, a massive auto museum, a displaced Western art museum, an ambitious science museum, and a deep dive local history museum, they have engineered a multidisciplinary learning environment.
It is like a concentrated crash course in Americana science and art.
Precisely. They transform what could have been a simple one-hour pit stop to stretch your legs into a comprehensive multi-day educational experience.
Yeah.
Within a radius of just a few miles, you are engaging with fine art, natural sciences, mechanical engineering, and deep regional heritage.
I hear what you were saying, and the density is incredible, but let's be honest about the reality of travel for a second.
Okay.
There is a physical and psychological limit to how much information a human being can absorb in one stretch.
Well, for sure. Museum fatigue.
Exactly. You spend 3, 4, maybe 5 hours walking on hard museum floors, reading detailed placards beneath vintage cars, looking up at planetarium ceilings, processing the history of the American West, and eventually you hit a wall.
You need a break.
Museum fatigue is a very real, documented phenomenon. A traveler naturally craves fresh air, a complete change of sensory input, and a quiet place to just process everything they've taken in.
That is the crucial pivot point for any tourist destination.
Yeah.
And this is exactly where Cartersville's broader infrastructure proves that it's a fully realized destination, not just a random collection of impressive buildings.
Right.
It purposefully balances the intense indoor cognitive load of its museums with expansive outdoor recreation and quiet living history.
Let's talk about that living history, because this specific detail in Louis' blog is the kind of historical ripple effect that I absolutely love.
Oh, the Roselawn Museum.
Yeah. Yes. If you head over to 224 West Cherokee, you will find the Roselawn Museum. Now, visually, it is this beautifully restored Victorian mansion surrounded by stunning gardens.
Which is perfect for relaxing.
Right. It offers that immediate visual decompression from the intense museum exhibits, but the story behind it is what makes it really matter.
Mm-hmm.
It was originally owned by a well-known evangelist named Samuel Porter Jones. Now, depending on where you are from, that name might not immediately register with you.
Probably not for most people.
But according to the source material, Samuel Porter Jones would eventually go on to establish the legendary Ryman Auditorium.
The Ryman Auditorium, the undisputed mother church of country music, located up in Nashville, Tennessee.
The historical resonance of that is just wild to me.
It's a huge connection.
You are standing in a quiet Victorian garden in North Georgia, decompressing from a science museum, and you are looking at the home of the man who laid the cultural foundation for one of the most important, iconic music venues in American history.
It's amazing.
It is those kinds of invisible threads connecting different parts of the country that make travel so deeply rewarding.
Absolutely.
But let's say you want to trade the manicured Victorian gardens for something a bit more wild. The town's ecosystem handles that too.
It does. Just a short drive away at 50 Lodge Road SE in Ackworth, you arrive at Red Top Mountain State Park.
Okay.
This is the natural escapism that perfectly counterbalances all that indoor trekking. The park provides sweeping scenic views of Lake Allatoona, and it is entirely focused on physical recreation.
Nice.
We are talking extensive hiking trails, prime fishing spots, lush landscapes, and diverse local wildlife.
It even features a sand beach, which
Yeah.
is another one of those geographic surprises for North Georgia.
Yeah.
And what I find so smart about Red Top Mountain State Park is how deeply accommodating it is for travelers who actually want to stay the night. They haven't just preserved the land, they've built the infrastructure to let you live in it temporarily. They have picnic shelters, yes, but they also maintain a massive campground with 93 distinct campsites designed to handle RVs, tents, and trailers.
That's a lot of space.
Plus, they offer 20 cottages, which actually brings up a really fun question for you listening to this right now. When you are out on the road exploring a place like this, what is your default mode?
Oh, that's a good question.
Do you prefer the predictable, modern convenience of a familiar hotel chain? Or do you want to lean all the way into the local environment? Would you rather book a cozy, intimate bed and breakfast, or maybe grab one of those rustic cottages right there on Red Top Mountain?
It's a vital question for trip planning because the friction of travel often comes down to where you sleep and how you eat.
Yes, exactly.
And the source notes that Cartersville has actively ensured they cater to all of those varying preferences.
They covered their bases.
They really did. Louis highlights that there are numerous charming bed and breakfasts dotting the local area, which provide a much more intimate, personalized experience with a very homey atmosphere.
Okay.
Conversely, there are several well-known, reliable hotel chains located right near the major attractions for travelers who prioritize easy access, familiar amenities, and streamlined logistics.
And if you are traveling with a larger group, or if you are trying to manage a family trip, Louis specifically recommends looking into vacation rentals through platforms like Vrbo.
Makes sense?
And the logic there is so sound. Having a home-like setting with full kitchen facilities is a complete game changer.
Oh, a total lifesaver.
When you are trying to feed exhausted kids after a long day of absorbing planetarium shows and hiking around a lake, being able to cook a meal instead of dragging everyone to a restaurant is a massive relief.
The one crucial piece of logistical advice the source emphasizes regarding these accommodations, though, is the necessity of booking well in advance.
Oh,
This is particularly true during peak tourist seasons, or when the town is hosting special regional events. Because this town has built such a robust tourism ecosystem, the word is out and the lodging fills up.
that makes sense.
But regardless of whether you choose a tent, a cottage, or a hotel, the underlying promise detailed in the dispatch is that you will consistently experience that signature, warm Southern hospitality.
It really feels like they have audited the entire traveler experience and purposefully removed the friction points.
They have engineered a self-contained tourism ecosystem.
Yeah.
If you synthesize everything we have discussed, the strategy becomes clear. Cartersville offers the dense cultural curation and architectural ambition you would normally only expect from a major metropolitan city.
Right.
It offers the deep historical resonance of a heritage site, and it offers the natural expansive escapism of a premium state park. All of these disparate elements coexist within one highly accessible, easily navigable footprint, just a little over an hour from the traffic of Atlanta.
So what does this all mean? It means that our default assumptions about how and where we travel are often completely wrong.
They usually are.
The next time you are driving down a massive interstate, maybe you are actually cruising down I-75 right now, and you feel that familiar urge to just keep your foot on the gas and get to the final famous destination, remember Louis' dispatch?
Mm-hmm.
Look for those green highway signs pointing to the roads less traveled. Because a seemingly simple, quiet, small town off the highway might just hold the DeLorean from Back to the Future, a state-of-the-art observatory, a Victorian mansion intrinsically linked to the birth of country music, and literally the only Western art museum in the entire Southeast.
It's quite the list.
You simply do not need to fight big city traffic to find world-class culture. Sometimes you just need the curiosity to take the right exit.
It is a powerful reminder that curiosity is the traveler's best tool. And this raises an important question, circling all the way back to Louis's initial observation while wandering the galleries of the Savoy Automobile Museum.
Okay, yeah.
He viewed those classic, meticulously restored cars, not merely as impressive machines, but as a direct extension of human history.
Right.
They were a reflection of what society deemed fashionable, and ultimately, they were a tangible expression of individual freedom for the people who drove them during those specific eras.
That concept really stuck with me. The idea of the automobile as a rolling mirror for the culture that manufactured it. Which leaves us with a pretty fascinating thought to ponder as we wrap up our deep dive today.
Let's hear it.
We can look at a car with massive chrome tail fins from the 1950s or a wedge-shaped sports car from the 1980s, and we instantly, almost intuitively, understand the vibe, the aesthetics, and the societal values of that time.
Absolutely.
But imagine a museum exactly like the Savoy existing far in the future, say in the year 2075. If the curators of that future museum were to put together an exhibit of the everyday standard cars we are all driving right now today, with our massive glowing touchscreens, our silent electric batteries, our autonomous lane assist features, and, our endless arrays of cup holders, what would those specific vehicles tell future historians about our society?
That is a great question.
What do the cars parked in our driveways right this second reveal about our current values, our modern anxieties, and our evolving definition of freedom? It is definitely something to think about the next time you turn the key or push the button